Leaves from a Russian Diary. Pitirim Sorokin. Part 1. 1917. Prelude. January-February, 1917.
Keeping a diary is a childish habit, but this childish habit may now be worthwhile even to a serious man. It is clear that we are now entering the storm of the revolution. The authority of the Tsar, the Tsarina, and all of government has terribly broken down. Defeat of Russian arms, poverty, and wide discontent of the people inevitably call forth a new revolutionary clamor. The speeches of Shulgin, Miliukov, and Kerensky in the Duma, and especially Miliukov's denunciation of the stupidity and treason of the government, have awakened a dangerous echo throughout the country. At a meeting yesterday of deputies, politicians, scholars, and writers at the house of Shubin Postiv, even the most conservative men talked about the coming revolution as a certainty. Counts and barons, landlords, and businessmen all applauded scathing criticisms of the government and acclaimed the approaching revolution. These men, weary, effeminized, accustomed to lives of comfort, calling for revolution, presented a curious spectacle. Like heedless children, they manifested a curiosity and a joy in meeting such an interesting development. I had a vision of the French ruling classes before the 18th century revolution. Like these Russians, their emasculated aristocracy, too, greeted the storm with laughter, not reflecting that it might rob them of their property and even of their lives. In my lecture rooms it was the same. Those parts of my lectures in which I scored the defects of aristocratic societies were met by the students with ardent applause. University life tends to become more and more disorderly. On the walls of lavatories one reads such sentences as, "Down with the Tsar," "Death to the Tsarina of Rasputin," "Long life to the revolution." These have been erased by the police, but immediately they reappear. The newspapers have become audacious in attacking the government.
Do you think that the guillotine will be necessary for us also in the near future?
Asked one of my students in the Workers' University of the Vyborg district of Petrograd. I do not know, I replied. But I am certain that if you contemplate the guillotine for your enemies, the same guillotine will cut off your head a little later. The guillotine always kills first the well-fed, but later on it gets the poor also. Do not forget this. It may be useful to you if revolution really comes. Prices are rising frightfully. Bread lines before the shops are longer and longer. Bitter complaints from poor people waiting hours in these lines, or as they are called, quosts, queues, becomes more and more rebellious. Today I met 3 soldiers, friends of mine, just returned from the front. One of them spoke with such hatred against the government, the expressions of the others of indignation and discontent in the army were so extreme that they shocked me. The army then may precipitate the revolution. I should prefer not to have it so, but perhaps I am wrong. Street demonstrations by poor women and children demanding bread and herrings, eternal voice of all revolutions, have previously led to the looting of 1 or 2 shops, and today the demonstration became larger and noisier. The rioters today stopped tram cars, turning over some of them, plundering a good many shops, and even attacking policemen. Many workmen have joined the women and a general strike and great excitement resulted. After the wrecking of the trams, something more important may next be overthrown, the Tsar's throne, for instance. Things are drifting that way. If future historians look for the group that began the Russian Revolution, let him not create any involved theory. The Russian Revolution was begun by hungry women and children demanding bread and herrings. They started by wrecking tram cars and looting a few small shops. Only later did they, together with workmen and politicians, become ambitious to wreck that mighty edifice, the Russian autocracy. It goes steadily on. Yesterday 3 men and 1 woman were killed. Today more. The orderly routine of life is broken. Shops and offices are dosed. In the university, instead of lectures, political meetings are held. Newspapers appear irregularly. Revolution has pushed 1 foot over the threshold of my country. Today the same. Crowds on the Nevsky Prospect are larger. The police are idle and irresolute. One hears that even the Cossacks have refused to disperse the crowds. This means that the government is helpless and their machine broken. Rioters have begun to kill policemen. The Pavlovsky regiment is in revolt. We are told that Protopopov, Minister of the Interior, is recruiting special squads of police and is equipping them with machine guns to be placed on rooftops or merciless suppression of demonstrations. This half-mad paralytic can do nothing much, however. End is very near, or is it only the beginning?